Okay, so good morning again. I'm Frank. I'm part of the support. I also work as a practitioner a couple of days a week. Now, when I first joined, it was just the NES, we call it the provision system at the time. And Harry was always going on about this thing called, well, actually, I don't think it actually had a name at that point, the miHealth. I think it tried to become the iHealth that got turned down. And a few years later, after I've been there probably about 4 or 5 years, this miHealth thing appeared. And I don't know what you guys don't think, but I actually thought initially that it looked like a big mobile phone. Okay. And I was like, okay, right, you've got me on the institute. I love the institute call. I'm just not buying into this miHealth thing. However, as part of my responsibility in my job, I had to set up a training, and we had a training in our European office, and we had a training in the UK. And we put together a group of practitioners who wanted to give the miHealth a try, because we had no evidence, we had no stories, we didn't know what the capabilities were at this point. So we were really looking for people to actually try. I know there's probably 1 or 2 at that time. So we had a sort of 2 or 3 day training, and as part of that, people got to use the miHealth on themselves and practice on each other. Now, I know some of you might be watching this live today or the recording, are not able to treat on body, and I appreciate that. Okay, now here in the UK, we don't have those restrictions in place. So if the practitioner feels comfortable and feels qualified to be able to treat on body, and then the client is happy with that, then that's a great scenario. Okay, but in the test that we did, the study that we ran, we found that the miHealth was effective both working on body and off body. I think it was like there was a 2% difference. Okay, so
excuse me interrupting, your microphone is being intermittent.
Okay, is anybody else finding that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but I also think that it's because somebody hasn't muted their phone.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so could I ask everyone please to mute their microphones? That'd be fantastic.
How do you do that?
Okay, if you haven't already muted, I'm just going to mute you guys very quickly. Okay, and so
Okay, got it.
everyone should be muted now.
Okay, it's on the bottom left-hand side. I've just pressed the button, and as of now, it's muted.
Okay, fantastic. Right, is that better? Cool. Okay, fantastic. Right. So I'm just gonna... Now my voice has gone crackling. Okay, Monday morning blues. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, so on the training, we actually got to practice on each other, and it was a really interesting experience. And at this point, I'd been given this miHealth a couple of weeks and had a chance to try it out. I still wasn't 100% sure exactly what the capabilities were of it. So the reason I fell in love with the miHealth was because of my own healing journey. Now, I'd already had a crazy change with the pharmaceuticals, but the miHealth was something on a different level. Now, when I was in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with a melanoma on my left thigh, and it was a radical operation at that time. Practically went down to the bone, and that left me with a lot of nerve damage. Now, I have tried lots of different therapists over the years and different therapies, and I still have this pain. It was almost like something sticking hot needles in my leg. Now, I can't stand anyone touching that scar because it's very sensitive. So, but I would try different things. Anyway, nothing worked. The miHealth, and we actually got at one point to use the miHealth on body. Now, and I'm going to be sharing this particular spinal cleanse or spinal pathway clearance with you this morning. I had the pleasure of having a miHealth treatment by a couple of practitioners, and as they were using the electrodes on my back, it was almost like, have you ever used Velcro? And it's like, to try and pull it apart, it's like, okay, that's what the miHealth was doing all the way down my spine. It was just sticking. And I could feel that, and I'm thinking, is it because my skin is clammy? Okay, the room was quite cool, so it wasn't anything to do with that. And we were all kind of like quite bemused why this was actually happening. Until one of the trainers who was taking the weekend session came over, and he's like, he didn't recognize who was on the couch. I was like lying down, and he's like, who's on the couch? And they said, oh, it's Helen. He's like, oh. And I was like, so I heard he's like, oh, and he wandered off again. So I went and found him in the break and said, you know, what was the oh about? And he said, you know, you were holding on to a lot of stuff. Was I? Quite defensive. And at this point, like, you know, I hadn't really sort of felt any change until later in the day. I absolutely just crashed. Okay, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I normally would be the party animal, the first in the bar in the evening, probably the last one to leave. Okay, you didn't see me that night. Okay, I got up the following morning. I actually slept all the way through without having to get up and wander around, and because I was in pain. Okay, the pain in my leg has never come back. Now, if the miHealth can do that for someone who had pain for 20 years, that sort of chronic level of pain, I was like, okay, everybody needs one of these. Okay, so I became almost like the miHealth ninja. And it didn't matter where I went, I had the miHealth in my bag, and practically to this day I still carry it with me. Okay, anyone was complaining when they, oh, hang on a minute, I think I've probably got something we can do for that. Okay, and that's literally, it just became part of my life. Okay, and it still is to this day. I've had some fantastic stories I want to share with you today, but I'll add those as we go along with the presentation. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to open up my share screen, and I'm going to share the presentation with you. So I'm hoping you could all see that. So I thought we'd start very quickly, just with a recap of what the miHealth actually is, so like an introduction to the miHealth. Now, obviously, all of this has been covered on basic training, but I know some of you are perhaps on different journey with NES, and you may not have actually ever really seen this information. So I just want to quickly share that with you. So one of the things for me is, you know, the miHealth does so much. Okay, I love the way it holds the information on all the different folders. Okay, so you've got all the different applications and then your folders. I think that the way that they've actually put that in place is fantastic. When I first saw it, I was thinking, my goodness, there's so many different options to choose from. You know, where do we go? But obviously, you know, the training comes with the application guide. But the big thing really is the fact that it's can be used on body and off body. Okay, I don't believe there's another device out there that actually has the capabilities to do that. Okay, and you know, so the miHealth is incorporating bioelectric stimulation, PEMF, and also the global scaling frequencies. Okay, so what we're actually doing with the miHealth is we're rejuvenating the body's energetic fields. Okay, any blockages, whether that be physical, whether that be emotional, we're helping the body to clear that. Okay, and what we're doing, we're creating that information flow to get the body ready for the pharmaceuticals. So it's, I mean, I'm sure that many of you have got lots of fantastic stories yourself about what you've been able to do with the miHealth. Okay, but I just wanted to sort of, you know, just to quickly cover that before we got started. Okay, now contraindications. Please make sure that you are aware of these. So I've been asked so many times, you know, can we treat somebody with a pacemaker? The answer is a definite no. Okay. Well, I know people are out there who have treated people with pacemakers, or they've got a pacemaker and they've used it themselves. That's your choice. However, if anything was to go wrong with the client, then just be aware your insurance might not cover you for that. Okay, now metal implants is always an interesting one because we can treat people with metal implants, we just don't go on body with metal implants. Okay, so if someone's got a metal implant perhaps around the wrist, then we would want to stay away from that area and we could work off body. Okay, cardiac fibrillation, any skin irritations, again, we can use the miHealth, but we would work off body rather than working on body. And I know there's practitioners around the world who have used the miHealth very successfully with ulcers, with ulcerated skin. Okay, people with who are highly sensitive, and anybody who's on immune suppressant drugs. Okay, and that is all of NES, and obviously with organ transplants, all of NES. Okay, so just bear in mind that there are some contraindications with that. Okay. Now, objectives for actually working, with the miHealth. I love to use the miHealth practically from the word go with a client. Okay, so as soon as they've had their scan, I want to start working with the miHealth straight away. Okay, especially those people who are showing signs of stress. Okay, and you might see that in their body language. You might hear that in their voice. You might feel that, see that actually in the scan. Okay, as I said before, we're removing those energy blocks and we're getting the body ready for the pharmaceuticals. Okay, so it's almost like that sort of start of that healing phase. Okay, the big thing for me, I believe, is it's promoting the client's understanding. Because how many times do you have somebody come to see you and you go, okay, put your hand on the scanner and it's going to read your body fluid. They say, you what? Oh, it's your energetic body, and then we sort of then start to explain what that is. Okay, now, if somebody can start to feel those changes very quickly, we don't need to provide those extremely complex understandings of what we're actually doing. Okay, now, when we first had the miHealth and we were looking at doing some promotion, one of the things that the marketing team came up with at that time was a pretty cool phrase, and it basically said the miHealth, just feel it. Now, you can feel it if you use it on body, but you can also feel it if you use it off body. The only error they made was when they created some clothing for us to wear. The ladies of the marketing team and the promotion team, I was one of them, were not best pleased because they'd actually, where they put just feel it, was in a very delicate area of the lady's chest. Okay. I was like, I'm not sure whether I actually feel like I want to wear this. Hey, however, one of the first promotions I did, it was for a group of practitioners, and we went through all of the science behind the miHealth and what its capabilities were. And I'd actually taken a video of my husband treating our cat at the time. And I thought it'd be a really cool idea to show this very homemade video. I had somebody stand up afterwards. She said, that's the most believable thing we've actually seen all night. Okay, so sometimes it's, to promote the client understanding, they do actually need to feel something is actually changing. Okay, that's why I really love to use the miHealth straight away in a session. Okay, so looking at the comparison of on and off body use. Okay, so on body, we're using electrodes and actually touching the skin, so we're getting that magnetic output. Okay, and this is going to create an activating or energizing effect. Generally, if somebody's got a physical pain, it's a really great idea if you can use the miHealth on body. However, if somebody is, sorry, something went wrong with my presentation here. If we are using the miHealth off body, we're actually turning the electrodes off. Okay, so it's only the magnetic output that's generated. Okay, and this will create more of a soothing or calming effect. Okay, and as I said before, not everybody is able to use the miHealth on body. If you are, fantastic. If you aren't, it's not a hindrance. It just means that you have to obviously adapt a different way of doing things. So on body, when we're using the miHealth on body, we're supporting the client's conventional belief system that it's actually something happening. And if you think, if you went for a massage and the therapist was, okay, let's just you know, actually not even sort of touch you. You'd be like, okay, it was actually something happening. Or some people might go, you know, book in for a Reiki session, and because the way that, you know, Reiki therapist actually moves the energy around the body, some people are very open to that and feel that, and other people won't. Okay, so it is actually about, you know, supporting that belief system. Looking at the when we're working on body, we can feel those asymmetries straight away. Okay, and you'll hear, sometimes you'll hear that auditory. Sometimes it's actually where the miHealth actually physically sticking to the body, and then the client will actually notice those areas of change. Okay, when we're using the miHealth off body, ideally for young children, babies, anyone who's got stress going on. Okay. One of the things that I like to do, if I feel that the client needs some connection with me and the miHealth, and the reason I would say this is I had a client a few years ago who, as soon as I turned the miHealth on, he was so in tune with his body's energy. He's like, oh my God, that just feels amazing. And I was like, okay, let me just turn the miHealth on. I said to him one day, what is it you actually feel? Because I don't get the same feeling that obviously you do. It actually feels like my whole body is like tingling. I can just feel it. So it just feels incredible. He used to tell so many people about it. I had got so many referrals, but guess what? Those people he sent to me didn't get the same feeling that he had when I was using the miHealth off body. So I had to adapt how I worked with other clients so they did actually feel a connection. So sometimes I would actually put the miHealth to off body, but I would actually touch them through their clothing. Okay, so I'd actually got a connection with them. Okay, and that can help them to sort of feel more confident about what I was doing and start to feel the changes if they didn't want to go for an on-body treatment. Intensity. So just as a recap, I often get asked questions, okay, well, you know, where should we be, you know, using the miHealth, you know, because you've obviously got these numbers between 1 and 5. What does that actually mean? So generally, we'd always start off with between 1 and 3, okay? And it will depend on whereabouts on the body you're actually working. So if you're working on a you know, a big muscle group, or areas of the body where the skin is quite thick, you probably might need to increase the intensity, okay? But in most cases, we can, like 1 or 2 actually is going to be sufficient. Okay? I've noticed with, and this isn't being sexist in any way, guys, but a lot of guys I treat, well, actually, can you turn it up a little bit? And I'm like, are you sure? Okay, yeah. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, actually, it just feels a little bit too high now. And if you ever turned the miHealth up or just cut your thumb on there accidentally, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, that's hurting now. Okay, so just be aware whereabouts you're using this on the skin. You may need to adjust the intensity and the percentage. Okay, when you're doing that. In terms of effective range for miHealth working off body, we're really saying between 30 to 60 centimeters. Now, I've been in a situation whereby I've had the miHealth. Okay, let me give you a story on this one. A few years ago, sadly my stepbrother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and his health went down very, very quickly. So I arranged to go and see him. He lives about an hour. Well, he lived about an hour away from me, and his daughter and his 2 grandchildren didn't have anywhere getting there, so I took them with me. Now, anyone who knows me really well knows that the inside of my car is quite cleaner than the outside. Okay, I hate anyone getting in my car with dirty feet because I hate to see my car mats dirty. So when I pulled up my my stepbrother's daughter's house and her 2 children got out, one of them was carrying a sick bowl. Didn't fill me with any elation whatsoever. So we get in the car. The 2 children are not really used to being in the car. Bear in mind, they're going to see their granddaughter who they might not see again. It was quite tense in the car. And we'd only gone about 20 minutes, and the little girl was inevitably sick because she'd been drinking so much water. I pulled over, got her cleaned up. We all got back in the car, and I suddenly thought, oh, hang on a minute, let me get the miHealth. And I got it, it's in my bag in the boot. I got the miHealth and I put it onto in a piece. And I said to her, just hold it close to you, I said, that'll help to calm you down. Literally within 2 minutes, she was fast asleep. Her brother was calm. My stepbrother's daughter, who was extremely stressed, was calm, and I was calm. Now, when you think about, probably it was a lot further than 30 centimeters or 60 centimeters from the back of the car to the front of the car. We all benefited from having the inner peace application on the miHealth, and it was working off body, not working on body. Okay, so just give you an idea of how effective that actually is. Okay, so when we're using the miHealth, now I've seen and trained lots of people over the last 10 years with the miHealth, and one of the things that I've noticed, and I've done it myself, is that we're so focused on the client. What happens, our posture is wrong. Okay, so we're kind of like leaning over. The classic case is holding our breath. Okay, I'm not sure why I do that or why anybody else does that. Okay, so when we're using the miHealth, it's really about checking your posture and feeling relaxed when you're doing that. Okay, trust in the miHealth, it's going to do what you need it to do. For those of you who work using the miHealth on body, these are some suggestions. So we've got different techniques. So even with the general brushing and cross brushing, if you're going to use the miHealth body and work it through the clothes, so you've actually got the electrodes working magnetically, you can still do some cross brushing, just working through someone's clothes. Okay, also working with bands, working through the dermatomes of the skin. It's easier obviously to working with a male client rather than a female client doing that, but I've had some really good success with working with the Spinal Cleanse. Okay, the meridian. So those of you traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, you may feel as though you actually want to work just through the flow of the meridian. And then symmetrical areas. And again, some of you had some great success with this. I know people who've broken bones or have actually got some form of plaster cast on, and okay, well, I can't treat that area of the body, but you can actually treat the other area. Okay, the other thing would be to take it off body and actually work through a plaster cast. Now, I've done this with a couple of clients, and one of them is actually a medical doctor, which is when I treated her, she was training to become a medical doctor. And when I was working through the plaster cast, she said that she can actually feel, she said it felt almost like like water flowing through her veins when I was treating her with the miHealth. And then she noticed that her healing response was actually probably, she said it probably, the plaster cast came off about a week to 2 weeks earlier than what they'd actually recommended. Okay, and then the spinal pathways, which is I'm going to be talking about in just a little while. So going back to the miHealth, when we first had the miHealth and we had the provision system, the two of them did not link. Okay, there was no recommendations of an ER screen on the system. Okay, so all we had was the miHealth, and we had the charts telling us what all these amazing settings did. So I put together my understanding of, if something came up on the scan, what could I use with the miHealth? Because sometimes sometimes people have got an actual symptom, and the miHealth's fantastic for that. Okay, sometimes they haven't. So this was my sort of initial, and I will be sharing these slides with you all anyway, so don't worry about taking lots of notes. But polarity, for example, the nerve, if you see polarity coming up on a scan, you could use the nerve function or the chronic balance function along the spine. Okay, one of my favorite ones is if BFA comes up, is energy align. And I love to use energy align, and I do what I do. I take it off body, okay, and I will just work over the palms of the hands, okay? Or sometimes I'll, if a client's on the couch, I will actually work over the soles of their feet. Now, I've noticed when you hold someone's hand and you've got that connection, or even if you hold their, you hold their little tootsies, it relaxes people. You've noticed that, so because, traditionally, we're sort of one side of the desk, the client's the other side of the desk, and, we put ourselves under a lot of pressure. We have to explain the scan. What I like to do is to move the client away from my computer and onto the couch practically straight away. Okay, as soon as I've done the scan, I've got them on the couch and I'll start the miHealth treatment. It gives me the opportunity then to go through the scan. So I might see something coming up. Say there's some big priorities on immunity. I might want to use the immunities. Okay, it may be that as I see the circulation coming up or lungs, I might want to put onto biocell, or if it's the digestive system, I might stick it onto digestion. Okay, because the body field is, we are connected, we're a matrix. It doesn't really matter whereabouts we put the miHealth. Okay, a lot of the time that comes down to our belief and the belief of the client. Okay, so those are some of my suggestions. Okay, the other thing that I like to do is to use some of the cycles. So I might want to look at the radiation cycle, okay? I might want to look at the transformation cycle. So things that I would do in this situation, I would go and look at the mind-body screen, okay? And I might then recommend ESR, mental clarity, liberated, chill, love, okay? Or the transformation cycle, which is 27 minutes. And depending on what function I choose, I would basically just set the client up with one of those functions or a cycle, and I would just have and hold it on the solar plexus, okay? What that does then, that gives me the opportunity to go back to my computer, and then I can go through the scan in my own time without the client, oh, what's it saying, what does that mean, okay? Especially for practitioners first getting started, it can be quite overwhelming. Okay, now the other thing that I've noticed when I'm doing this with a client is that they feel more, they get more value. Okay, so rather than just a consultation, now I know we all work differently, this is just my recommendation. So it's not the right way, it's not the wrong way, it's just the way I like to, I like to share this with people. So you might pick something up from this. And the client, one of my clients in particular, she, during the lockdown when she couldn't come and see me, she's like, and she was absolutely craving for a miHealth treatment. Okay, now she doesn't want to buy a miHealth, but I actually rented her a miHealth, and then I would just do a scan and I would show her where to use the miHealth. And she practically was using it every day. And I think she probably is going to buy one now. But she literally was like, oh my God, that just feels so good. Actually, just coming and having an opportunity to have a lie down for half an hour with a miHealth, and she can, sometimes I'll change the frequency. I might not just keep I might just not just keep it on mental clarity or liberate. I might actually change that to something else. Okay, these are just suggestions. And then the radiation cycle. So we see a lot of same areas coming up on the EMF screen. The radiation cycle is fantastic because it's working through polarity. For anyone who's had any form of X-ray, has been through X-ray machines at the airport, etc., or been flying, radiation cycle is great for them because it starts with polarity, it moves to heart drive ED6, and then it goes to the spleen integrated EI12. And that one's 34 minutes. So again, it's a really nice bit of time to be able to start a treatment with the client, okay, and getting them away from your computer. So if you're unsure about where those things are on the BWS screen, I've just done a couple of quick shares here. So this was one of my clients who I saw recently, and she's pretty gung-ho about most things, but there was ESR was coming up. Okay, then I went into the emotion screen, and there's worry and there's guilt. And I was like, okay, she doesn't need to tell me that she's stressed. I can see it in the scan. I can feel it in her body language. Okay, And, you know, when I looked at the transformation screen, I noticed there was trouble coming up. Okay. So what I did with her, I started her with ESR, and then I ran the transformation cycle. Now, did I need to do that? No, I could have just used trust and focus from the transformation page on the miHealth. Okay. But I chose to run the full transformation cycle because that's going to rebalance the whole chakra system. Okay. Now, this is in addition to the ER points. Okay, so bearing in mind, as I said before, you know, this, when we first had the miHealth, the software did not show any recommendations for the miHealth whatsoever. Okay, so this was a sort of a complete getting started. So we have to really kind of like think on our feet how we would actually going to use the miHealth. Okay. So, you know, for me, you know, one of the things that I found is because I feel like the client gets so much more value. I don't do many other therapies. Okay, I did do massage. Okay, I did the massage course so purely because I wanted to feel more confident with working with the physical body. I've done touch and health and kinesiology. I'm trained as a counselor for drug and alcohol addiction. I've done nutrition courses and courses about toxins. Okay, but I don't come from a health and wellness or healing background. So for me, you know, NES, miHealth is my primary area to work with. Okay. So I like to feel as though I'm giving my clients a lot of value with getting them started with the miHealth straight away. Okay. And that was probably my initial reason for doing that. And also because I'd had such great success with my, you know, actually having the treatment myself. Okay. Here we go. So this is the environmental screen. Obviously, this looks slightly different to how it used to look now. So with it goes to the environmental 2, and on this one we can see radiation coming up EMF. So I wouldn't necessarily run the radiation cycle. If you see nuclear radiation coming up, then definitely run the radiation cycle, which is a 34-minute one. As a recap, some of you will have seen this before. When we're running the transformation cycle, this is the 27-minute cycle. Okay, so it's clearing the chakra energy. It starts with emotional energy, then it goes through the 7 transformations. So I think probably the first time I really noticed a big change with somebody with this was during a training, and there was somebody in the room who was really stressed. I ran the transformation cycle for her during the break, and literally you could just see her whole body relax. Okay, and then all of a sudden she was then able to engage in the group activity. Okay. So you may see some emotional and possibly some physical detox, okay, during this process. Okay, so you know, when you are using this cycle with a client, just be aware of keeping an eye out for what's going on. Okay, you might need to use some ESR as well. Okay, or you might want to start with ESR. So when we first got started, okay, we had the full list of everything that the miHealth did, all of the different functions, what they did, and I read it and read it and read it, and I'm thinking, my goodness, there's just so much. How do you actually choose what to use? So I put, this is purely based on my own experience, and I just put together some recommendations. It was like, this is the quick reference guide I created for myself. Okay, but I'm happy to share that with other people. So this was the recent payment. This was a really interesting one. My daughter had I think she was, I can't remember whether she was moving back home or moving out of home at that particular time. She's been and gone so many times we've got confused over the years. So but she hit her, as she sort of came to the door, she managed to hit her arm on the brick wall, and we both saw this bruising coming up straight away. I said, hang on, I've got the miHealth. So there I am, and I made a note. I used acute balance biocell and matrix carrier. We actually both witnessed, between the two of us, the actual swelling coming down and the bruising going down in her arm. And we're both looking at it, and she's like, Mom, it's gone. And I said, I know, it's amazing, isn't it? She's like, and actually, even now, I can still hold that memory of her, like, that's just mad. How can that possibly happen? Okay. So some of this is, it wasn't just like I just randomly picked different things. I just found things that worked for me. Okay. Now, some of you will say, well, actually, I prefer to start with matrix carrier. Fantastic. If you want to start with matrix carrier, start with matrix carrier. I like to finish with matrix carrier. Okay. So there's no wrong way, there's no right way. This is just something that I wanted to share of things that I put together that you may find useful. So fatigue, following physical exertion. Now, my top tip, if you're going to be following a sort of a physical regime, I always add some energy and some rejuve to my water bottle before I go to training. Okay, then I'll use the miHealth when I get back. We've also got the new one now, so we've got the myFashion on there now as well, which wasn't available initially when I put all of this information together. Okay, so a lot of this is based on actual physical conditions. Okay, so just be aware of that. Arthritis, now this is an interesting one. I've had some great experiences with arthritis. The challenge that I had is getting those people with those arthritic joints to change some other habits in their lives, i.e. their diet. So, but my elderly mother, she has been very actively tailoress, knitting, different activities, crafting, card making, all of her life. However, her hands are very arthritic now, and she got, at one point, she actually couldn't close her palm. So, and obviously when she, you're used to making things, and she's 86 now, and even I still take things around to her to alter for me. She loves it, by the way, but hey. So I said, you know what, Mum, let's just try the miHealth. And so I said, I used to use it off body, because didn't want to sort of cause any sort of, any effect on her hand. And I just used it on chronic balance, joint, biocell, and matrix carrier. And I said, how does that feel now? And she can actually close her palm. Usually she would have to literally like push her hand down to close her fist. And she's like, oh, that's amazing. So what does she do? She goes and tells all her friends. So I'm getting this sort of list of all these ladies and men with arthritic joints. Can you help me? Can you help me? But it's been amazing. Post-surgery, nerve damage. I mean, that's a big one, isn't it? Because how many people who have had some form of nerve damage, I'm not a neurologist and far from it, but things that we can do, migraines, leading to headaches, the quicker we can, if someone's got a migraine or headache, the quicker we can start the protocol with that, the better. So those are my suggestions. Okay. So onto the spinal cleanse. So the spinal cleanse is something that was taught practically from the early days of working with the miHealth, and the majority of the time it is done on body. Okay. And the reason we do it on body is because it's helping to stimulate the nerve tissue. Okay, so I was just checking and thinking, wow, goodness, this is like just incredible. When it's something, when you've had such a big change yourself, then you kind of wanted perhaps to go and explore it a bit more. So for me, it was kind of like that, that whole kind of like that telephone line syndrome, really, between the messages going, being sent backwards and forwards between the body and the spinal cord. Okay, and perhaps that was what was controlling the sensation that I used to get in my leg. Okay? So you know, we're working on so many different parts of the body when we're working through the spinal nerves and then through the peripheral nervous system. Okay. If we look at the, you know, the actual spinal nerves, you know, we've got our 5 groups of spinal nerves. Now, most of you will already know this information. I just sort of wanted to keep it in here because I wanted to make you aware when we're doing the spinal cleanse, what we're actually working through. Okay. So, you know, we're working, you know, when we first start, we're working literally from, you know, the sort of C1 at the top all the way down to the coccyx. Okay. So it's, if you're not, you know, aware of this, then you might want to perhaps get yourself a chart, okay, that'll actually show you where those points actually start from and what we're taking in. So if you, I don't, some of you might work with the dermatomes of the body, or the skin, I should say, and some of you won't, but it's, you know, it's even, you know, the lumbar nerves, you know, controlling the leg muscles, okay, the sacral nerves controlling the bladder and sexual functions in the bowel, okay. So it's, when we're doing this, we're actually encompassing in so many different parts and healing opportunities for the body. So this was I mean, I thought this was a quite a nice sort of colourful diagram actually showing this. If you want to go into more detail, then you can print off a report like this instead. Now, this is actually quite difficult to read because it's obviously coming up very quite small on your things, but you know, if we've got somebody who is let's just pick on one of these. Okay, so we're working around T11, which is the kidneys and the ureter. Okay, we might see things like skin conditions. Okay, so it's acne, pimples, eczema, and boils. Okay, so just by working through there, okay, T10's kidneys, could be hardening of the arteries, chronic tiredness. Okay, so sometimes if somebody is presenting with a condition, I know we don't treat or diagnose, however, this can give you some really interesting areas to look at. Now, the gallbladder, for example, is related to shingles. I didn't know that until recently because my mother developed shingles. And I did a scan, I was like, why is the gallbladder coming up? And then I pulled the chart out, and I thought, okay, that could be the connection. Okay. So it's really interesting to actually sort of, for me to delve deeper into this because I'm picking up lots more information. Okay, so this is just one that I picked up from the internet. So you can just go onto Google and, you know, search for the spinal cord or the vertebrae, and there's different images that you can download and print out yourself. So here we go. So the spinal cleanse or the spinal pathways, depending on, you know, what you want to call them. As I said, primarily we are working on body with this. Now, before I share the actual process with you, one of the first people I did this on was a guy who came to see me, a young guy who was only in his early 20s, who had got chronic fatigue, or we believe he had chronic fatigue, never been formally diagnosed, but his mother had taken him practically around the world, spent thousands and thousands of pounds, and he was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Extremely thin, could hardly eat anything. He would fall asleep, but literally just sit down and want to go to sleep. And then at other times he had a burst of energy. Came in hives on his skin. He couldn't even touch paper. Okay. And what had happened? He'd been traveling, he'd been bitten, and came home, and his health just deteriorated. So it'd been going on for about 3 or 4 years. He's had to quit his studies, so he's really missing out on life. And his mother was actually had heard about Harry and his story, and she's like, okay, we need to go and find a NES practitioner. They came knocking on my door, and so the first time I saw him, it was probably one of the most challenging consultations. The conversation was going backwards and forwards between him and his mum, and it's like, wow, okay. And all they were doing was reliving everything that they'd actually done, which was interesting, but it wasn't actually helping them or helping him. So he had the pharmaceuticals, came back in a month's time. How have you been? And his mother, oh yeah, it's been so many, it's definitely this, he's been improving. He's like, I've not noticed any change. So at that point, it's like, you know what, I think I need to treat your son on his own today. Would you be okay, happy with that? Bear in mind, he's a consulting adult. She's yet absolutely no issues whatsoever. So did a scan for him, and I said, you know, would you mind if I did an on-body treatment on your down your spine? And I said, you know, I don't have to do it on body, I can do it off. He said, oh no, that's fine. So I've got a massage chair that he sat in, and I was working down his spine, and it was sticking in various areas. I can't remember which functions I chose. Okay, I probably just went, okay, I think I need to use these today. And the miHealth stuck in a few places, and as I was working on him, he started having a conversation with me and wanting to know more about my daughter, who's a similar age, and what does she do, and la 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 la. Anyway, we finished the treatment, he got dressed, another came back in, and then all of a sudden he got really irate and just, I've never experienced anything like it. So he grabbed her car keys and went out, and she looked at me and I looked at her, and she went, what has happened? And I said, just give him some space. So I gave her a bottle of ESR to take with her for him. And I said, you know, he's had a healing response, just leave him, because he's going through some changes. But if you need me at the weekend, please don't hesitate to give me a call. She rang me on the Monday morning, and I had been expecting a call all weekend, I've got to be honest. And she rang me on the Monday morning, she went, hi Helen. I went, oh hi, you know, how is he? And she said, oh my God, I can't thank you enough. And I'm like, wow, okay, what have we done? And she said, I've got my son back. And even when I say that now, I get this trigger of emotion up and down my spine, okay? And because it was like just such a beautiful conversation. And she's like, he's gone off and he's on Tai Chi this weekend, he's trying different foods, he's talking about going back to university. She said, he wants to buy you a present. But I said, there's really no need for that. She said, well, he'll probably never get around to it anyway, but the thought's there anyway. But do you know what? This is just from working on the spinal cleanse, okay? So this, you know, we talk about restoration of regulatory processes in the body, okay? So what we're doing when we're using the miHealth is, if you think, you know, we're working down the centre now, we put in different alternatives. So we can start with Matrix Carrier, we can do ESR clearing. That's probably one of my favourite ones to do. Okay. Just bear in mind, when you're working down the spinal pathways, you are going to clear a lot of possibly old emotional patterns that may be sitting in there. Okay, so just bear in mind you need to have some ESR on hand to give the client, okay, which is why it's a great one for clearing with ESR. It's a good starting point. Okay, so what we're doing, we are using the electrodes, okay, and we're working vertically down the body. Okay, so we're not working horizontally like that, we're working vertically. So what we're doing is we're actually going down the center. So if you look at the diagram, going down the center, but we're actually going sort of starting from the nape of the neck, okay, and we're working all the way down the central spine, okay, and it's not just pushing like that. It's quite a slow process, okay. Now what you'll find is that when you're working down the spine, it won't be like just nice and straight like that. It will move and it'll kink, okay. I haven't met anybody yet who's got a very straight spine, okay. So moving it, kink. Let the miHealth take you where it needs to go. Don't sort of, you know, push against it. But we're going very slowly. And what you'll notice is that in various areas, depending on which function you're using, the miHealth will stick. Now, what I like to do is just hold the miHealth there just for a few extra seconds when it picks up that blockage, okay, just to allow that to clear. So it's not a race. You can do it quick. You can do it the quickest. Okay, it's a slow process. And you go down the center 3 times. Okay. Then you go to the left. Okay, so it's about 2 fingers apart. Okay, then you go down there exactly with the same function again, 3 times, and then you do the same on the right 3 times, and you repeat that with both with just the 2 functions. I've never done it more than 2. Now, sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll notice that there are some other areas coming up on the perhaps the shoulders, okay, around scapula. So sometimes I might actually then work through the peripheral nervous system as well, okay? So it's not just a case of going down, we're not going back up, we're just going down the spine. So sometimes I might actually work back out from into the peripheral nervous system. So when you're doing this, as I said, make sure it's slow, make sure you're connecting with your client, okay? I like to hold my hand on the client's shoulder while I'm actually doing this, okay? So I'm connected with them. Now, in terms of settings, I would never get past a 2, okay, on here. And probably different people, it's usually around about, I've noticed that sort of between 15 to 20%. Now, so some people you might not even get to 15%, okay? The other thing that you're doing when you're working with the miHealth is that because of so you've got the power buttons up here, what I tend to do is I tend to hold the miHealth like that, okay? So what I'm doing, keeping my thumb away from here, because if you can't get into conversation with you and your thumb is sort of hovering around here, and sometimes it has happened, and they're going, oh, can you turn it down a little bit, please? And they notice their voice is suddenly gone a few octaves, okay? So I like to hold the miHealth like that and then work down, okay? The pressure is a decent pressure, so we're not sort of tickling or stroking, okay? We are actually applying some pressure to the spine, okay? If you're a massage therapist, please make sure that you're not using oils before you start doing the spinal cleanse. So as I said, lots of fantastic, healings with that. Now, depending on, your clinic, whether, I don't know whether you can, you're allowed to treat people on body or not. If you're not, it may be worth hooking up with another practitioner or perhaps your partner and asking them to do this for you, okay? And I'll make sure that I share this slide with you. Now, the exasperations, okay, I've had some really interesting healing responses with people. Okay. So talk about the process of change, okay, it is about letting go and taking on the new, okay? So when somebody has been holding on to a particular belief pattern, okay, or a memory, or a perception, okay, or a physical, okay, or a tension, and all of a sudden we are allowing the body to clear that, okay, on a subconscious level, then that is going to sometimes create some turbulence, okay? So if the turbulence happens or the exasperation happens during the therapy session, then it's not going to be long lasting, okay? It's only going to last a short amount of time, okay? But don't be alarmed if that happens, okay? Also, don't be alarmed if it can happen a couple of hours later. So just be aware if you're doing this process that you may get some changes, okay? Now, I had another client, a few years ago, who she had a stiff neck, massage, she'd had acupuncture or different physiotherapy, things like that, and she hadn't cleared it. So somebody referred it to me, and I wanted to do a scan because I wanted to see if there's anything coming up in the scan. And I noticed she wasn't interested in having a scan, but I said, look, okay, I'm not going to charge for the scan, but I just need to see whether it's going on that I can cross-reference. So she just wanted the treatment. So I did a quick scan. She's got no interest whatsoever. So, but we agreed that she would have to have 3 miHealth treatments, because sometimes you might not get that healing response straight away. Sometimes, depending how long it's been there for, it might take 2 or 3 sessions for that to actually happen. Okay, so she had the scan, had their miHealth treatment, and yes, the miHealth was sticking around her neck and her shoulders and everything else. And it wasn't a physical; it was an emotional. Okay, she'd had a breakup in her marriage, and she's in a new relationship, and all sorts of things were going on. When she came back to see me a few days later, I said, "How have you been?" And she said, I've had some real digestive issues. And I said, "Yeah, I'm not surprised." And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I know you're not open to this, but let me show you anyway." I showed her the scan. She's like, "Oh my God." She said, I wish I'd seen that before." I said, "Well, you weren't ready to see it before." And when we talked about what had actually happened and where this energy was stuck, and the fact that it's actually, a lot of it had actually gone to the gut. That's why she was getting things like heartburn, she was getting all sorts of strange sensations, and that's where she was holding the emotion, but it actually she was also holding in the neck and the shoulders. And then after three sessions, she gave me probably one of the nicest testimonials I've ever had. Okay, I'm just going to stop share for a moment. Okay, so I can see the chat. But it's just believe in what you can do with this. Okay, is it been a life change for Ness? For me, it has. Okay, I don't think I would be as successful as I am, or have as many healing stories if I didn't have the miHealth. Okay, so it's been. Yeah, it's almost overwhelming, really, in some respects. The fact that it does do so much. Okay, so I've got a couple of. So, do metal implants include teeth and root canals? Now, yeah, okay. Probably not a root canal, but if it's a metal implant, then yeah, you probably would be very aware of using the miHealth on body in that respect. You probably want to go more off body. That. And then, can I see the last picture for a second? Okay. Shokat, could you just tell me the last picture, which one that referred to? And I can take that. I can put that back on for you. Do you want to? If you want to type that in the chat, that would be fantastic. Can you lift your phone a bit higher for me? Okay, right, that one. Yeah, we'll do. Just take that back for you. I need to go back to do share screen, sorry.
Sorry, just turned my telephone on. Yeah, it's the one before that particular one that I missed. I mean, I can get it, but if I can just take
No,
it.
not problem at all. I just need to do share screen again. So I think it was this one.
No, before that, keep going back. No, not that one. Yeah, that's it. No, you've gone past it.
I've gone past it again, right, sorry.
That one, no, the one before that. That's it, just the one before that. That's the one before that, one before that. No, we're going the other way around now. Okay, don't worry, I'll just get it from the website. Okay. That's it. No, you can't pass it. It's too quick. Don't worry about it. I'll do it.
I think I know which one you mean now. I think you want the hang on, I think I know. I think you want the transformation one, don't you?
Yes.
Right, okay, that's the one.
That's the one. I shall take it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, right. So I'm going to throw this open if anyone's got any questions, any feedback for me. There is one particular lady on the call. I had the pleasure of doing this treatment on her husband, actually, probably, oh goodness, 3 or 4 years ago now. And he wasn't a disbeliever, but Sue, were you happy to sort of come on and just share what we did?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Lovely. Yes, we were at a conference seminar, weren't we, in Poole,
Yeah.
and my husband was walking past, and Peter, who was doing the course, said, has he got a problem with it, because he was limping a little bit. Now, bearing in mind he's a marathon runner, and when I follow him, he does have a slight limp, and people had noticed that one shoulder was higher than the other when we'd been out for a meal. So on the Saturday, Helen was doing a demonstration. So I asked if she wanted him to be the person to model. And yes, so he came in, and Helen did the spinal sweep. And I wish we'd photographed it, because as she was doing it, somewhere between the shoulder area where she was working, his whole body balanced out, his shoulders balanced, he wasn't as raised off the table. And when she finished and he got up, his shoulders were level, and he's been able to run a lot better. Because we run on cambers on a lot of races, it does have a tendency to throw him again. So I do a spinal sweep now on him to try and keep him. And unfortunately, he's just gone up to do a Zoom call, else I did have him on backup to come and try and explain how he felt it from. But to be honest, he just forgets about it. He got the benefit and, you know, move on sort of thing. So yeah, it was amazing. I just wish we'd taken more notice, Helen, with some photographs would have been great.
Yeah, I think it's always there. It's always that thing, isn't it? Like, okay, we actually should have done this, we should have done that. And I think, you know, it just goes back to really, you know, the fact that if you're not confident about using the miHealth, just find people to practice on. You know, and will it change your practice? Potentially.
But I have done lots of treatments on sports injuries, and it's always best to do it as soon as possible, I found, to get the best benefit. But I'm not a hands-on person, so I've always tended to use a lot of off-body. Obviously it's my husband, so I'm quite happy to do the spinal cleanse on him, but I don't tend to use it with clients. But so yeah, thank you.
Thanks for that, sharing that, Sylvia. Jen, you're asking about bee or housefly bites. Yeah, I've actually I was in Greece a couple of years ago, and I think the mosquitoes, my blood must be very sweet, and I was absolutely plagued by mozzie bites. And what I would do, I put it onto BioCell and then immune ETs, and I would actually just, so they don't want to say I've got a bite on my finger, I'd literally just use the curved end of the miHealth, and I would actually, I had it quite high, I've got to admit, and I'd use it on BioCell for about 30 seconds, and I'd put it onto immune ETs on each.
On immunity, did you say?
On immune ETs.
Immune ETs.
And on BioCell.
Yeah, and that's all you put it on?
That's all I put it on, and I would actually treat, I had a number of them, and I would actually just go around and treat, and I'd get it up as high as I possibly could. I don't know why I thought I needed to do that, but I did. And I found that actually did help to clear that, yeah.
Okay, because I just got bit by a horsefly. I mean, my dog got bit by a wasp the other day, and a bee. But I just put it on. It hasn't done anything yet, but while we were talking, I thought, oh, I'll just put it on it because it's really, really red. And I just put it on BioCell and the Matrix. I always do Matrix first, you know, because I like to get the body going. So I did Matrix, BioCell, and Acute because I thought it's just happened. They're the three I did it, but I'll put it on the immune now. And thanks for that, Ellen.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's some of us start on Matrix, some of us finish on Matrix. It's what works for you, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I found. It's what worked for me. Yeah. Okay. Karis, you'd like to share your experience with your eyes and your miHealth?
Yeah, very much so. When I did the training with NES, this was in 2014, we were each given a miHealth literally to play with. It was part of the demonstration, and I looked at it, and I have to say, although I believe completely and utterly in energy, I'm thinking, well, maybe, let's see. So the setting I chose was eyes. I think it's number 34 on the ERs. Chose eyes, and I just did that in front of my eyes, no particular pattern or anything like it. And I thought, well, it feels nice, but, you know, not overly sure. Am I imagining it? Am I making it up? Anyhow, shortly after the training, I had to go for an eye test, because you have to, once you get to 70, which I was turning that year, you have to get your eyes tested and retake your license or reapply for your license every 3 years. So I went along to Specsavers and going through the optician, checking my eyes and what have you. And he said, well, you don't really need glasses. Your eyes are fine. So I said, oh, fantastic. That's great. Because I have a thing about anything touching my face. It really, I find it really distressing. So he said, did you bring your previous glasses? Yes, I did, which I had had for the past 15 years and never used. So he checked them out and he said, that's very strange. I said, what? He said, your eyes have actually improved. Now we're going from age 55 when I got the glasses to now age 70. So because I love figures, I said to him, can you put a percentage on that? He said, it's about 25%. Well, I tell you, I had such a smug smile on my face. I didn't try and explain it. He was a very medical person, so I wasn't going to get into it. But subsequent birthdays, or every 3 years, I use the miHealth regularly. I still don't use glasses. I can go into a supermarket, I can read the, you know, the small print, not a problem. So I'm saying to everybody, use your miHealth on your eyes, because it really, really, really works. And I love sharing that story, because I think, look what we can do, look what we can turn around. Yay!
So those of us with glasses, I like my glasses actually. I actually quite like wearing them now. I don't know whether I want to.
Well, I'm not being anti-glasses, but I do feel if we go to the metaphysical side, which is where I always end up, the glasses are, what is it that I'm not really wanting to look at? And because I'm, as you know, I always want to know everything. I'm a real sticky beak. I sort of know, I want to know, I want to know. But I mention that because, you know, if you can't see properly and you have to keep having your glasses re-strengthened and what have you, use your miHealth and save the money, spend it somewhere else instead of on the optician. That's just what I wanted to share.
Thank you. No, that's really interesting. I've actually noticed that Harry doesn't wear his glasses anymore either. He used to wear glasses all the time. Yeah, but actually, no, my prescription hasn't really changed very much over the years. So,
there's two settings. There's eyes and there's retina, and also more seriously, I have been told that I have cataracts forming at the back of both eyes, which I believe is standard, but they're not increasing at all since I've been using the miHealth, which, as I say, on the serious side, that's really excellent.
yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And how often?
Appreciate
How
that.
often are you using it, Kirsty? How often?
I I don't always, but I try and remember to do it, if not every second day, at least every third. But when I'm going for an eye test, you know, when that birthday rolls around, then I make sure I use it every single day for at least 2 weeks before I go for the test.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, good.
Oh, fantastic, thank you. Okay, right, we have a question about tinnitus, and Shoko, you mentioned that you can help with that answer. Do you want to put yourself off mute? He's just disappeared. I can see his chair. he's just gone. Okay. I actually it was a medical doctor I did a presentation for a few years ago, and he was actually interested in NES for his grandson. And his grandson was born with a squint. Actually, I'm probably getting off the subject here, but just give a bit of background information. So his grandson was born with a squint, and the only options were to either inject the muscle of the eye with Botox or to actually cut the muscle. And it was like, okay, that's not going to happen. You know, there's got to be an alternative. So he started looking, came across NES, and I actually met him. Ever such a nice gentleman, and we met up in the north of England when I was up there for a few days with family. So picture this: we're in this hotel, sort of, I think, lobby, restaurant area, having a coffee. I showed him the system, did a scan on him. And he's like, oh, okay, like your language just kind of like, you just gone too far for me now, Helen. Okay, so like, let's bring it back. And so I said, okay, well, let me just use a couple of the ER points on you. And actually, he didn't tell me about anything about his health. You know, he was like very closed about what was going on in his life. So I went with the ER points. So we actually, this is when the scan and the miHealth worked together. I went with the ER points, and one of them, I'll never forget, was acoustic nerve. ER68, and I used the miHealth on him, and he rang me when he got back and said, right, okay, send me the pharmaceuticals, I'm going to give it a go. I said, okay, why the change of heart? He said, I didn't tell you. He said, but I've had tinnitus for many years since being hit by a rugby ball. Now, I don't know what the other causes of tinnitus are, I'm not medically trained. He said, I can actually feel a change on the way home. He said, so you've got me. And we cleared his tinnitus, it just with ER68, and I can't remember the pharmaceuticals were that he had. And then he actually went on board the system, and we corrected the squint for his grandson, which took about 4 months. And so, yeah, it was quite overwhelming, but we've never been able to share the before and after photographs. He wanted me to share them, but the challenge was his daughter wasn't happy to have the son. And if we just use the eyes, it could have been, you know, it could have been very negative feedback for us, so we couldn't actually use that. So that's what I've used for tinnitus. Okay, any other questions? Okay, resolving hard lump of clotted blood. I'm glad you put the explanation there, because I didn't think, what is that? Oh, I'm going to throw that open actually, because I haven't actually worked with anyone with that I'm aware of. Anyone more sort of medically trained on here that can help with that question about the hard lump of clotted blood? Take yourselves off mute if you've got an explanation or can share that with us. Hi Julie, I've seen you've taken yourself off mute. You've got a bit more background information about the client.
It's for me, actually.
Okay, hi.
I fell over bushwalking, and I've just had surgery. I had a couple of titanium plates put in here. So they completely smashed all of the bones in the cheek here. They kind of like fell down onto a rock. And so I've got quite a large lump here because it was bleeding very profusely. And that's kind of formed quite a hard lump there. So I've been, using all the settings on miHealth. It's been great. So it's definitely coming down, but I thought if there's any, this
have you been using BioCell?
Yep, BioCell, and I mean, because there's lots of issues, you know, there's lots of bruising and then the bones and lots of things.
Yeah, I'm definitely by a cell matrix carrier. Obviously bone would be a good one. Even things like ESR or acute balance. That would probably, you might notice a change with that as well. But I think it's probably having to be patient with that. I take it you're not you're going off body with it, aren't you?
Pardon?
You're going off body with it rather than on body.
No, I've been doing on body.
Really? And you've got metal plates?
Oh yeah, well they're just titanium, so
Yeah.
they're fine. They don't have any reaction.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But I've actually found that surprisingly, general rejuvenation seems to be the one that tends to go most onto the, you know, click click sound.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been using that on and off body.
Yeah, I probably would be quite tempted to use it off body because you probably might be using it too much. So just give the body an opportunity to actually start that repair process. Okay, when you think about this, you know, the element of shock and trauma that's in there. So perhaps by sort of taking it off body and bringing a lot of ESR into that to clear that. Because after that's often what happens that stops the body from healing, is because the trauma is still in the energetic body, isn't it? Yeah, but yeah, let us know how you get on with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and if you're happy to share that story, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Kelly.
If you could get some shungites, Julie, have you heard about the shungites, the rollers?
Oh, you've been trying these medicine ones. Yeah.
Does Lynn Smith still sell
roll.
them? Does Lynn Smith still sell? I can show you what they look like.
She's not doing them anymore at the moment. We are looking for somebody else that's actually doing those. So it's something that we started here in the UK actually, mostly for doing facials.
Yeah, I haven't been doing too many recently, but that would be really good for some drainage and on the fascia and everything. And that attaches into the miHealth. Be really good.
What's it called?
Well, they're called shungites, but sorry to bring that up if Lynn, I didn't realise. A NES practitioner that we used to have here, I've met her on a couple of trainings, she was selling them to us, wasn't she, Helen?
Yeah.
And I thought that might be a bit more gentle, because then you could you could make contact with your face then. More better than making contact with the miHealth, I think.
Well, it hasn't really been a problem, you know.
No,
it's been fine. It's been nice and gentle.
That's
yeah, and I've been having it on, you know, low relatively.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot is still very numb as well. So it's kind of a big from all different types of pain mixed with numb, all mixed up.
Have you got some infoceuticals? Maybe some ESR and Rejuve and things like that.
We're probably getting, if you've got somebody that can do the spinal cleanse for you.
Oh yes, I should ask my husband to do that.
That would be fantastic. Let us know how you get on with that. Yeah. Someone's suggested arnica would be good for that. And it's just your frozen.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Julie. Sorry, have you got anything else you want to add to that? Sorry. Asking about frozen shoulder. So frozen shoulder, depending how long it's been there for, you know, we could look at either chronic balance, acute balance, physical rejuve, general rejuve, biocell would be a good one. You might even want to perhaps use some muscle. So there's a whole different combination of things that you could actually use for that. And if you're going to work on body, then you'll find when the miHealth, you know, sometimes it will stick on a frequency and sometimes it won't. Okay, so if it sticks, generally that's where the body the energy needs to be cleared. Okay. Any other questions? I'm just aware of the time for you all. Okay. So, well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to let you all go. Just before I do, put my email address into the chat. I would love to have your feedback from today, okay, on whether you I hope you found our time together of interest, of benefit. If there's other things that you would feel that we could have included or you'd like to see on future calls, then please do let me know. If you've got any specific questions that you didn't want to come on and actually share that this morning, then please email me directly. So I'm going to stop the record now.